Hello, this is your host Nosheen Bukhari, welcoming you to a special tribute episode of iBuzz. In today's episode, we will be paying tribute to Dilip Kumar and Robert Downey Sr. But first things first, let me quickly take you to the top stories of the day. Tribute paid to Dilip Kumar in Peshawar. Filmmaker Robert Downey Sr. passes away at age 85. Post Malone's manager teases concert documentary. Loki is again up to its time-killing tricks in the 5th episode. And Army of Thieves releases images from first look at Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead prequel. And now moving to the top story of the day. Robert Downey Sr., a director and actor known for subversive comedies and roles in To Live and Die in L.A. and Boogie Nights, died at the age of 85. The Iron Man star and his son, Robert Downey Jr., confirmed his death on Wednesday morning. To pay a tribute and discuss the actor's service to the film industry, we are joined by the entertainment and lifestyle journalist, Kay Selisho. Kay, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So, Kay, Robert Downey Sr.'s demise has left a void in Hollywood, especially when we talk about the vintage work, as he started his directing and acting career in the 50s. What are your thoughts on that?
It definitely has left a void because in entertainment industries and like other related industries, you always look to the past for inspiration and to see what people were able to do. And even as the world evolves and grows, there are always some lessons to be taken from careers like Robert Sr.'s.
Right, and Downey Sr.'s films during the 1960s were strictly take no prisoners affairs with minimal budgets and outrageous satire, effectively pushing forward the countercultural agenda of the day. In simple words, he was known for making anti-establishment movies. That was a very daring act, especially in those times when there was much control and power over media.
It definitely was. We take the world that we live in and are able to live in for granted today. And for someone like Robert Downey Sr. to do what he did and make films criticizing not only the establishment but the status quo of the day is definitely very much a brave act, especially considering, the 1960s and the time that it characterized in the country that he lived and worked in.
And his work being a quintessential anti-establishment, do you think that it reflected the nonconformity popularized by larger counterculture movements back in those days and given impetus by new freedoms in films such as the breakdown of codes on censorship?
I absolutely do believe it characterized the time of the day. And as much as we call it the larger part of counterculture, for the most part, the greater part of the society that he lived in did not believe in the things that he did or were not comfortable expressing those ideals. So seeing it in something as relatable as film and in a way that he presented it to people definitely not only helped people feel the freedom to think and feel the way they did, but for them to discuss these things and for it to eventually have some sort of an impact in how, the establishment thought of how they did things.
And also, Downey's films were often criticized for being family affairs. His first wife, Elsie, appears in 4 of his movies, including Pound and Greaser's Palace. Also, his son, Robert Downey Jr., worked in 8 films directed by his father. How do you see this criticism? Is it justified, or you have other thoughts on that?
I do not think it's justified, especially because, we say that he worked in counterculture film. That is an industry that is characterized by very limited budgets. And what better way to counter limited budgets but still produce quality content other than relying on, talents immediately available to you. He would not only have had his wife and his son In his films, he would have relied on other people in his immediate life to fill the gaps that he needed on his films. And he also was able to then give his son a platform, whereas ordinarily he probably would not have gotten it, that allowed him to become the actor that he is today and to mean as much as he does to many people.
But don't you think that when you have a refined talent sitting at home, it's good to, bring them out and, polish them and hone the skills just the way we see it in Robert Downey Jr.'s personality and his acting skills. So don't you think that he kind of played his fatherly role in training his own son?
I absolutely do think he played his fatherly role in training his own son. And like I said, he gave him a platform whereas ordinarily other people would not have, because at the time he was not a known name. So he was able to take the work that he created with his father and take it forward and give that as an example to the world to say, this is what I'm able to do. Give me a chance to show you what I can do given the opportunity to run with this.
So do you declare it as an example of nepotism?
Oh, absolutely not. Definitely not. I can see why people would say that, but I would not count it as nepotism in that case, because it's not necessarily like I said, he had the big budgets to hire as many people as he could have. And even if he did have the budget, he could have hired his wife and his son in addition to other people and just given a different range of talents the platform to showcase what they can do.
Right. And talking about his famous artwork, Patni Swope, Downey Sr. gained immense popularity in setting a trend of criticizing the establishment and hitting political topics. What is your take on that?
I definitely do think he set the trend, and it's something that is appreciated because as censored as, the media was at the time that he was creating his films, he was in a position to be able to poke the bear, so to speak, and cross the boundary and create an industry where other people were able to come after him and do that. He was also able to create the template, and topics such as politics and the topics that he often tackled are perceived to be, boring to some, taboo to others, and he did it in such a way that allowed people to engage with the subject matter without feeling alienated. So he definitely, was a trailblazer, and as they call him, a maverick filmmaker.
Right. Kay, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.
That was Kay Selisho paying tribute to Robert Downey Sr. And now moving to other story details of the day. Hundreds of people in Dilip Kumar's ancestral hometown Peshawar paid tribute to the Bollywood legend who died in Mumbai on Wednesday. Residents of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's capital offered funeral prayers in absentia for Dilip Kumar in Kissakhani. Dilip Kumar, who won worldwide fame playing tragic hero roles in Bollywood movie, died on Wednesday and was laid to rest with state honors in India. Rapper Post Malone is planning to take his live show to the screen in a concert documentary. The Better Now star's manager Dre London teased the release in an Instagram post on Sunday as he celebrated the hip-hop hitmaker's 26th birthday and gave fans a preview of Malone's next single, a song set to be inspired by rockers Motley Crue. The message served as the caption to what appeared to be behind-the-scenes footage from the accompanying music video featuring Malone. Motley Crue drummer Tommy Lee is reported to make a cameo in the promo. The penultimate episode of Loki began with the main Loki blustering that he had several thousand questions for the new variants he had encountered, which was understandable after the fourth episode cliffhanger. Yet, like the third installment, this frustrating placeholder of an episode left any major revelations for another day, presumably the finale. Instead, this Disney Plus series continued to follow the maturation of Loki, as well as his unexpectedly tender romance with another variant of himself, Sylvia, a relationship that has somehow made narcissism seem oddly endearing. However, fans have expressed anger on social media on the stretched story leading to boredom in fifth episode. Zack Snyder unveils the first images from Army of Thieves, the live-action prequel to hit Netflix zombie heist film Army of the Dead. Netflix announced it had already greenlit 2 additional projects set in Snyder's Army universe, including an animated prequel series and live-action prequel film with director reprising his role as Ludwig Dieter. That is it from our newsroom. We will be right back after a quick short break to pay a tribute to Dilip Kumar. Stay tuned. Welcome back. In this segment, we will pay a tribute to Dilip Kumar. Born as Muhammad Yusuf Khan, he was an Indian actor and film producer, best known for his work in Hindi cinema. Referred to as the tragedy king and the first Khan, he has been credited with bringing a distinct form of method acting techniques to Indian cinema. To discuss this further, I have film critic Mohar Basu with us. Mohar, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nosheen.
So Mohar, a great loss to the film industry as Dilip Kumar's sad demise is known to be the end of an era.
It is. It indeed is an end of an era. And yesterday when we were putting together an orbit for my paper, we spoke to a lot of people and we just realized the enormity of what has really gone from us. He was a legend of a different kind. He's a superstar of a different kind. And so what I gauged from people was he was so kind, so humble, so down to earth. And the warmth about Dilip Kumar, which is what everyone categorically remembers, that he was a really kind and warm man.
And Dilip Kumar, he debuted as an actor in the film Jawar Bhata in 1944. I mean, wow, that's way before even our existence, and in a career spanning over 5 decades. Kumar worked in over 65 films, which is a big deal.
Nosheen, here's the thing. Imagine some actor has been able to stay fresh for 5 decades. And not only stay fresh, stay relevant with his work. Today, when we go and revisit each of his films from each of these decades, you'll realize he's always had something new to offer. And that says so much about an artist's craft, their ability to commit to a story, their ability to, like I always say, some actors are gifted and some actors are, they learn acting. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that Dilip Kumar was just very, very gifted as an artist. He was a gifted artist.
Also, Mohar, can we talk about Dilip Kumar's record of receiving the most awards in film industry? And before we go ahead, let me share a very interesting fact that very few people know, that Dilip Kumar is the only Indian national who received Pakistan's highest civilian award called Nishan-e-Imtiaz.
Wow, that's so nice to hear, Just really goes such a long way to prove that eventually it's art that's gonna transcend all boundaries, right?
Yes.
That said, it's interesting that I don't think Mr. Kumar would have even considered the awards that he got, because I think I'd read about him somewhere that he always said that an artist's real quality is the fact that his work should be for posterity.
Exactly.
And that's
he was so much more than the awards.
He was so much more than the awards. So yesterday when we were reading tributes about him, we just realized that, his works are going to just inspire generations. I don't think any award, no matter which award it is, will be able to encapsulate that quality of an artist. He is going to be relevant even like 6 generations down the line. Yeah. And I think awards are just a plus and a bonus, of course. But what is interesting is that back in the 50s and the 60s, which are called the decades of the golden eras of the Hindi cinema, awards are actually given to people who were not just massively popular, but people who were great craftsmen, in the sense they were great at their job, which I think kind of diluted over the years. I think that's a beauty which I remember from this, which I would like to understand from this particular thing that you discussed.
True, but he mastered both very well. I mean, the popularity and then, mastery of his art, the skills, the acting skills. Yeah. And because of that, he is pronounced to be an Indian who received most of the awards in the Indian film industry. And this record is mentioned in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Wow. That's just so nice to hear. But I'll tell you an anecdote which I read yesterday. I think S.R. Nurani, who's a musician, wrote about it, that he had bumped into Mr. Dilip Kumar in a lift at IFA, and S.R. Nurani obviously extended his greetings and said that he's a big fan of your work and a big fan of you. And he said, my name is S.R. Nurani, I'm a musician. So Saira Banu told Mr. Dilip Kumar that, inke gaane aajkal bahut chal rahe. So he turned around and he said, my name is Dilip Kumar, I am an actor. It's that's what you remember about this guy. I thought it was so sweet. Like, it's just so interesting to know that these are the kind of legends who've worked in the Hindi film industry. It was such a beautiful moment for me to even read that. It was just amazing.
Exactly. And talking about the quantity of the film, the quality was never compromised. From the independence of India to the late 2010s, Mr. Dilip Kumar held the record of performing in the highest number of highest grossing box office films until his record was broken by Salman Khan, who performed in 10 films. However, when adjusted for inflation, the record remains with Mr. Kumar, with his historical movie Mughal-e-Azam remaining the highest grossing film in India.
Right. Mughal-e-Azam took like a decade to make. Kay Asif had sat on that film for a decade. And Irfan Saab used to say something very nice. He's like, wait, let me just recall the line. Something Bepana Ishq se unhone wo picture banai thi. Something like that. Something to that effect he had said about Kay Asif. So that is the kind of work that had gone into Mughal-e-Azam. So much so that when it was corrected and released, I think fans flocked again to watch the film because that film has a timeless quality. And what's interesting is that the leading pair at that point of time, which is Madhubala and Dilip Kumar, were not even really on talking terms with each other through the film. And they're supposed to play this really star-crossed lovers at that point. I think that's the quality of great actors. They are able to transform in front of the camera, which is what I think Dilip Saab was able to do.
And it's about giving their self into the character. I mean, about his acting skills, the co-stars have mentioned that it was all about timings and method. He was known for method acting as well. I mean, he is known for being the first actor in Indian film industry to bring in the method acting.
Yeah, not just Indian film industry. In fact, Javed Saab corrected that yesterday. He said he's the first method actor in the world. So that's
news.
I think, yeah, he was. I absolutely had no idea. But when I read about it, I was like, wow, he was the guy who actually came up with method acting. And what really is method acting if not just being authentic to your character and to do 100% groundwork, which is what Dilip Saab was able to do. Which is why he's that one actor who was able to effortlessly do both tragedy and comedy. He can slip into a Gopi, a film that is sweet and innocent, and a Ram and Shyam, which is sweet and innocent. And he's able to do so many other characters which are dark, gritty, like films like Devdas, which are immortal characters. Those are immortal characters. And he's able to do balance, strike that balance because he was a master of method acting.
Exactly. And talking about Devdas, his set standards were followed by actors like Shah Rukh Khan in the 2002 remake of Devdas. I mean, his presence worked as an institute in the industry.
Absolutely. I because I understand that Shah Rukh Khan is extremely close to Dilip Kumar and Saira Banu. So I'm sure he must have gone, researched a little with him, understood how he played that character. Because, in some scenes, you can see the anguish in the character's eyes, in his eyes. And that kind of remains similar in these two films. Though the making is extremely different, the way they were kind of, brought together, the films are very different because they were made in different eras. Except for the story, there's very little similar between them. But I think that pain, that anguish of the characters are retained by Shah Rukh Khan in the modern take of Devdas, which I'm guessing he must have worked with Dilip Saab on this. Otherwise,
right. And his reflection can be seen in a lot of actors. The way he would, deliver the dialogues So that reflection can be seen exclusively in some actors, top-notch actors of the Indian film industries, like Sunil Sethi, talking about his dialogue delivery. It gives a very much impact of Mr. Dilip's acting skills in his work.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I think when someone is of Dilip Saab's stature and level, people are bound to kind of copy your style. You know? That's what happened with Mr. Bachchan and later with Shah Rukh Khan. People are just copying their style. Why so? Because that's how much they're smitten by what you're doing on screen. They want to be like you. You know, Dharam Saab said something very nice. He's like, I became an actor because of Dilip Kumar. Agar wo nahi hote, to main bhi nahi hota. And he said that, you know, I wanted to copy everything. He was so graceful. He was so stylish. He had a very particular style of hair, and I just wanted to copy all of it. But no one can be like him because he's Dilip Kumar.
Exactly. And Mohar, his timeline with Madhubala had been under discussion for a very long time, which kind of made him look like a real-life villain. What is your take on that?
You know, I honestly, Nosheen, I also went back and read about it. When I read his autobiography, I discovered that you know, there was that whole period when they were going out, and it didn't end very well, and she married out of spite. And why it didn't end very well is because, in my understanding, and of course from what I have read, is because during Naya Daur, her father kind of got into a production tiff with Mr. Dilip Kumar. If I'm not mistaken, said that he was kind of trying to make a business deal out of their relationship, and he was offended by it, and that's the reason why that relationship did not last the test of time. But that said, they were together for almost 9 years, and I'm guessing they were pretty much in love with each other at that point of time. But there are stories, there are things that don't work out, right? I guess it was just one of those things.
But on screen, a lot of actresses would take pride being with Dilip Kumar, but of all the actresses, Madhubala would compliment her presence the most. I mean, their work has always been remarkable.
Yeah. Their work has always been remarkable. There's just genuine great chemistry between them, and you can see that on screen. But that said, you know, when he was paired opposite Nargis ji or anyone else for that matter, he made it work because he was that talented an actor. But you know, there's just great chemistry in some on-screen couples that can't be replicated.
So Mohar, Indian film industry has always been under the wrath from politicians and public, especially the actors and actresses. But coming to Mr. Dilip Kumar, I mean, we don't see much of controversies revolving around him, even about the award that he received from Pakistan, Nishan-e-Imtiaz. BJP left it on him, whether to receive it or not, or, you know, take it back. He did receive it, but then there was an outrage that, okay, why he was awarded, and, you know, why did he take that award? But BJP left it as his choice whether to keep it or leave it. So this makes him an astounding personality where, you know, people cannot target him out of fury. I mean, he was not only a fine actor, but a fine personality as well.
You know, when you've done so much good in your life, when people like you that much, there's no scope for doubt, you know. I guess that's what he was about. Like, you know, before the show started, we were discussing that there was a prayer meet for him in Peshawar, his hometown. And yesterday, Bombay was literally in shambles because everyone was mourning for him. He led a full life, but people still mourn the death of someone as great as him. And I guess that's what a great artist is able to do, bring people together. And I guess that's what Dilip Saab was like. I don't think he was such a kind, gracious, generous, good person that no one would have been able to question him.
Absolutely, and even a lot of crowd gathered in front of his house here in his hometown in Peshawar, Pakistan, and they paid him a tribute today. That was amazing to watch.
Yeah. That kind of, you know, it just made me realize that things seem a little far apart, but they're really not. I think cinema is able to bring people from across the world together under the same roof.
And we need more people like Mr. Dilip Kumar who can, you know, bring the best from, you know, both countries and, you know, take them together. It should not be about the borders. It should be about the art that is working.
It should always be about art because borders Borders can go, but art stays.
Hey, Mohar, great discussion. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you so much, Nosheen. Take care.
That was Mohar Basu paying tribute to the late Dilip Kumar. And that is it from today's special episode. We hope you liked it. Don't forget to share your feedback on the social media links mentioned down below. We'll see you next time. Until then, take care and goodbye.